just waiting for Mark, and we've got a couple of train stories to bring to you today. I'm just down here. I don't know if this is part of the story, I'm sure Mark will tell us. An old railway line that used to be here, and just across there we've got the bridge. So, won't keep you waiting any further, let's get down to the story.
So at the moment we're underneath the Wycliffe Road Bridge in Cleckheaton, and this is the former site of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway line. And there was an incident that happened on this stretch of railway on Christmas morning in 1905, where a passenger train collided with a goods train that was unexpectedly parked there. So the passenger train in question was the Mirfield to Bradford train, and it was just before 7 AM, and the train had left Cleckheaton. It made its way up here, and just beyond this bend, which we can just make out now along the path, there was a stationary goods wagon which nobody expected to be there. Now, unfortunately for the passenger train driver, he'd gathered up good speed. He saw the goods vehicle, hit his brake, but there wasn't enough time for him to stop, and he collided with the goods vehicle. There were 6 passengers injured, fortunately no fatalities, and that appeared to be the start of an eventful 20th century really for the Cleckheaton railway line, because there was a more notorious incident that happened a little bit further down the road in 1928, and we'll have a look at that site now. So we're now a little further down the track, closer to the centre of Cleckheaton, and it was here on this railway bridge above Westgate where another major railway accident took place. It was the 22nd of June 1928, and there was a convoy of coal wagons, and they were actually moved to one side to make way for the London to Bradford express train. But in doing so, 6 of the wagons came loose, and they basically plummeted 30 feet down onto Westgate, which is below us. So from up there on the bridge, the coal wagons fell some 30 feet down here onto Westgate, and they actually landed in this spot. Now, this was formerly occupied by a butcher shop, which was totally wrecked. So for such a serious accident, fortunately, there were no fatalities. However, there was a couple of lucky escapes. One of them was a young man, and he was approaching the spot at the time. He heard the crash and he stopped, but had he continued walking, he'd have undoubtedly been crushed under the debris. But perhaps the luckiest of the two was Mr. Donald Hall, the Cleckheaton rugby footballer, who was on the other side of the railway arch on his way home, and he had been deterred by the ominous rumblings of the oncoming truck. So not far from the crash site of 1928, we're now in a Tesco's car park, but this was the site of the former Cleckheaton railway station, which closed in the 1960s. The last passenger trains came through here in 1965. It was used for another 4 years for freight trains, and then there was total closure in 1969. And not long after that, there was quite an unusual story, quite amusing I suppose in retrospect, where a man was accused of stealing the train station. So we're going to have a little look at that story now. The man who was accused of stealing Cleckheaton train station was a demolition contractor, Reginald Sedgwick, and he actually had to go to court in Wakefield in April 1972, and had been charged on 10 counts of stealing metals, stone, railway lines, timber, sleepers, chairs and a garage from the station. He said, "I was conned by this man called Watson, and I believed he was genuine. He owes me £100 bond and £400 for the work I did demolishing the station. I hired plant, machinery and men to carry out the demolition work, and the only thing I got back was from the sale of materials pulled down. With it being such a big job, like pulling down a railway station, I believed him to be genuine. I will make greater checks in future before accepting any demolition work." The Telegraph and Argus published a picture of Mr. Sedgwick in his yard, and he was standing amongst a few flags and a few bits of stone, and that was really all that was left of Cleckheaton Station in 1972. So there we have it, 3 little curious stories relating to the railway of Cleckheaton, which is sadly no more. I'd like to thank our subscriber Wayne Baker for the heads up regarding these stories, and we'll see you on the next blog.